Welcome to the deep dive. Sometimes life just feels, well, fundamentally unfair, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
You're like trying to do everything the right way, work hard, be honest, stick to your guns.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seems like other people, the ones cutting corners, maybe ignoring basic principles, they're the ones just sailing ahead.
Yeah, they seem to be thriving, almost flaunting it sometimes. And you look and there are just no apparent consequences. It's baffling.
It really is that feeling. It cuts deep, I think, that raw frustration when the scales just feel totally off balance.
It's something people have wrestled with forever, it seems.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at this feeling through a really powerful lens, a reflection piece that focuses on part of Psalm 73.
Asaph's.
Exactly, specifically verses 1 through 14. So this is ancient writing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Penned by Asaph, who was like a worship leader.
Yeah.
And he's just laying bare his struggle with seeing, well, what he calls the prosperity of the wicked.
And what's so striking is how unfiltered it is. He doesn't try to pretty it up. He brings that raw, kind of unsettling feeling right into his worship, his relationship with God.
Right. So our mission here in this deep dive is to really unpack that honesty, Asaph's raw feelings in these first verses, and then look at the perspective this reflection offers us.
Sort of exploring why this struggle feels so universal, so persistent, even now.
Yeah. And what insights can we maybe gain from this ancient lament, especially when viewed through this modern reflection? What's there for us today?
Okay, let's jump in. The reflection points out something important right at the start. Asaph begins in verse 1 with this bedrock statement. Truly God is good to Israel, to those who are pure in heart.
Right, it's like he's grounding himself first. Here's what I know is fundamentally true.
Exactly, it's his anchor. But like you said, almost immediately, bam, that knowledge just collides head on with what he's actually seeing and feeling.
Yeah, look at verses 2 and 3. But as for me, he says, my feet had almost stumbled, my steps had nearly slipped. Why? For I was envious of the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked.
Wow. That's just incredibly vulnerable, isn't it? He flat out admits envy almost took him down.
Totally.
He saw how well these people who seemed to just disregard everything he valued were doing, and his own faith, his own footing, it felt shaky because of it.
And he doesn't just vaguely say they were prosperous. He gives this really vivid, almost kind of shocking picture of their lives. That's verses 4 through 12.
Yeah, he paints this picture of just ease, no pangs until death. Their bodies are fat and sleek. It's like they're completely insulated.
Right. They seem immune to the regular troubles that hit everyone else. He says they're not in trouble as others are. They are not stricken like the rest of mankind.
He sounds like they're just cruising along, totally comfortable, untouched by the hard stuff. And their attitude, it completely matches this perceived invincibility.
How does he describe that?
Well, Asaph says pride is basically their necklace. Violence covers them like a coat. They scoff, they speak maliciously, they threaten people from on high. Ooh. And listen to this bit from verse 9. They set their mouths against the heavens, and their tongue struts through the earth.
Wow. So not just successful in worldly terms, but openly arrogant about it, even challenging like the divine order itself.
Precisely. And from Asaph's perspective, it gets even worse. It seems like other people are drawn to them. They find no fault in them. Oh. And these prosperous, arrogant folks, they even question God directly, saying things like, how can God know? Is there knowledge in the Most High? It's this picture of blatant disregard that just seems to be working for them.
Okay, so he paints this really detailed picture of the wicked, thriving, untouched, arrogant. So then what's his personal takeaway?
Yeah.
About his own life, trying to live differently. This is where that really powerful line comes in.
Verse 13. Yeah, this is a gut punch, really, just pure honesty. All in vain have I kept my heart clean and washed my hands in innocence.
All in vain. Just, wow, all the effort, everything he tried to do right, living by his beliefs. He looks at how easy the wicked seem to have it and just thinks, what was the point of any of it?
And he doubles down on that feeling in the next verse, verse 14. He contrasts their comfort with his reality. He says, for all the day long I have been stricken and rebuked every morning.
Oof. So while they're fat and sleek and untroubled, he feels like he's constantly getting beaten down because he's trying to live rightly.
That's the absolute core of the unfairness he's feeling. Faithfulness seemed to bring him pain, while disregarding God seemed to bring them prosperity.
And this is exactly where that reflection piece we're using really connects, right? It steps right into that feeling you might have had yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Looking around, seeing things, and wondering, Is trying to live with integrity even worth it? Especially when it seems to make life harder, not easier.
Definitely. It takes Asaph's cry that all in vain, and it offers this crucial counter perspective. It doesn't dismiss his pain at all, but it points towards a deeper reality. The reflection says, God is not absent, he is patient.
Okay, hang on. So it's not that God doesn't see what's going on, which is kind of what the wicked in the Psalm seem to think, right? How can God know?
Exactly. The reflection suggests God does see. He's fully present, but maybe not operating on the immediate, cause and effect, reward and punishment system we often expect, or frankly wish for.
Right, we want that instant justice sometimes.
We do. But the idea here is that he sees everything, and there are deeper things happening, often unseen from where we stand. Asaph's lament, powerful as it is, captures a moment of struggle. The reflection reminds us there's a bigger picture, which, the rest of the psalm actually explores, even though we're focused here today.
Okay, that changes things fundamentally, doesn't it? It shifts the focus away from just looking at immediate, visible results as the only way to measure value.
And critically, the reflection emphasizes that God's timing is just different from ours, which can be hard to swallow sometimes.
For sure.
And here's a really key takeaway from the reflection. Faithfulness. Living rightly. It isn't always flashy. It might not result in the fat and sleek bodies or the obvious signs of success the world cheers for. But, and this is huge, the reflection insists it is never wasted.
Never wasted. That lands right against Asaph's despair, his all in vain.
Yeah.
It's like saying the value of keeping your heart clean and washing your hands in innocence.
Yeah.
It's not measured on the world's skewed scale.
It forces the question then, what is the true measure if it's not that external stuff?
Yeah.
And the reflection seems to guide us toward this idea that real peace, finding stability when everything looks unfair, it doesn't come from constantly comparing our situation to others, which is exactly what tripped Asaph up, right? That envy.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, peace comes from ultimately trusting God's heart, God's character, his fundamental goodness, even when we don't understand the why of the circumstances.
Trusting God's heart. Okay, so that pulls our eyes away from just staring at the external stuff, the perceived fairness or unfairness of outcomes.
Right.
And it points us towards something internal, something foundational, trust in who God is.
It's really an invitation, I think. An invitation to find peace, not necessarily in seeing the wicked finally get what's coming to them, or even in achieving some specific level of worldly comfort ourselves.
Yeah.
But finding it in an inner trust. A trust that holds steady even when the surface evidence looks really, really unfair and unsettling.
Okay, so let's try and bring this together then. We've walked through these first 14 verses of Psalm 73, seen through the lens of this reflection piece. We've looked at Asaph's stark, raw honesty.
About the wicked seemingly cruising along and his own painful conclusion that trying to be faithful felt, pointless, in vain.
And then we've pulled out these key perspectives from the reflection. That God isn't absent or blind, but patient. He's working in ways we often don't see.
Right. And that faithfulness, even when it looks like struggle and not like worldly success, it has this intrinsic value. It's never wasted.
And finally, that real peace in the middle of this paradox comes from trusting God's nature, his heart, rather than constantly comparing our lot to others.
Which is so easy to do, that comparison trap.
Oh, tell me about it. And this ancient struggle is just so incredibly relevant, isn't it? You, listening right now, you might be feeling this exact frustration today.
Absolutely. And the reflection, it kind of leaves us with some pretty powerful questions to just sit with for a bit. It asks point blank, have you ever felt like doing the right thing just wasn't worth it?
Yeah.
And maybe even more pointedly, what would it look like for you to bring your honest doubts, your own Asaph-like frustrations, directly to God today without filtering?
That's the challenge. To really consider what it means to trust God's heart, his timing, especially when everything you see feels deeply, fundamentally unfair.
But this ancient psalm, it kind of gives us permission, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Permission to bring those raw, difficult, maybe even uncomfortable feelings right out into the open.
So the question for you is, what stands out?
Yeah.
What resonates with you from Asaph's honest struggle and the perspective we've explored today? Something to think about.